Hi, everybody. In this video, I'm going to be doing another read along with the second half of Grapes of Wrath. As you can see, I'm already on the story, but if you're having trouble finding this, you've got a couple options. I do have the instructions posted on this week's HyperDoc, so you can look there, or I also walk you through how to do this in my read along from last week. So you can find that video on the week 4 HyperDoc as well. But here we are. This is The Grapes of Wrath here on Pearson Realize. And we have already read the beginning last week. You should have read paragraphs 1 through 8 by now. So I'm just going to really quickly remind you what happened in those paragraphs. This beginning part is telling you about tenant farmers who lived in the Dust Bowl in the 30s. And they're really struggling because there's no rain and they can't get things to grow. And they are very, very short on money. So in these first couple of paragraphs, the story describes how they're having to sell a lot of their possessions just to make some extra money and to get by. They're selling all of these things, and they're also remembering the memories that they have attached to those things. So by the end of paragraph 8, the tenant farmers are coming back from having sold all of these things. And they seem really, really down about it. They seem very sad and just kind of beaten down about the direction that their lives are going in. And that is where we left off last week. So we're going to start with paragraph 9 this week, and we're going to read all the way through to the end of this story. So it's about 11 paragraphs or so. I'll read it out loud to you, and then for the most part, I'm going to be stopping after every paragraph just to update you on what's going on and give you a short synopsis. So here is paragraph 9. This is where we're going to start today. Maybe we can start again in the new rich land in California where the fruit grows. We'll start over. So the direction the story is going to be going from this point on is describing how these tenant farmers have decided they're going to move. They don't think that they can make things work in the Dust Bowl area. So they're going to try California. They're going to see if their luck is better there. But you can't start. Only a baby can start. You and me, why, we're all that's been. The anger of a moment, the 1,000 pictures, that's us. This land, this red land, is us. And the flood years and the dust years and the drought years are us. We can't start again. The bitterness we sold to the junk man, he got it all right, but we have it still. And when the owner men told us to go, that's us. And when the tractor hit the house, that's us until we're dead. To California or any place, everyone a drum major leading a parade of hurts, marching with our bitterness. And someday, the armies of bitterness will all be going the same way. And they'll all walk together, and there'll be a dead terror from it. So that was a longer paragraph. Some main ideas you see here. They're talking about how even though they technically want to go to California to start over, they can't really. They're saying that they've already lived their lives in the Dust Bowl, and they're taking away from that all of this bitterness, all of this hurt that they can't get rid of, even if they move somewhere different. So that's why they say here only a baby can start. I'm actually going to highlight that because that's an important idea. They're saying any person who's lived somewhere for a decent amount of time can't leave all that behind them. It's going to stay with them. So that's really a main idea here. They're trying to get rid of all this stuff. They're trying to move away, but in reality, they're still going to bring all of these memories and all of these hardships with them when they move away. Pick up with paragraph 11. The tenant men scuffed home to the farms through the red dust. When everything that could be sold was sold, stoves and bedsteads, chairs and tables, little corner cupboards, tubs and tanks, still there were piles of possessions, and the women sat among them, turning them over and looking off beyond and back. Pictures, square glasses, and here's a vase. So here they're saying they've sold many, many, many things by this point, but there's still stuff left. And at this point, the story has been talking a lot about how the men feel about this. At this point, we're going to transition into how the women feel about this. The story lays out a difference between how they both respond to this. So that's what we're going to look at in this next paragraph. Now you know well what we can take and what we can't take. We'll be camping out, a few pots to cook and wash in, and mattresses and comforts, lantern and buckets, and a piece of canvas. Use that for a tent. This kerosene can. Know what it is? That's the stove. And clothes. Take all the clothes. And the rifle? Wouldn't go out naked of a rifle. When shoes and clothes and food, when even hope is gone, we'll have the rifle. When Grandpa came, did I tell you? He had pepper and salt and a rifle, nothing else. That goes, and a bottle for water. That just about fills us, right up to the sides of the trailer. And the kids can sit in the trailer and Grandma on the mattress. Tools, a shovel, and saw and wrench and pliers. An axe, too. We had that axe 40 years. Look how she's wore down. And ropes, of course. The rest, leave it or burn it up. Now, this paragraph, it is still the men who are talking, and they're listing off all of these items that they think are very practical and that they're going to need to survive. So they mention things to cook with, a mattress, lantern, kerosene, which is a form of fuel that you can use to make light. And an important sentence that we have here is this idea of a rifle being absolutely essential. They would not even consider going off without a rifle, they say. So these are the things that, according to the story, are important to the men when they're leaving. So they get all this stuff in the trailer, and it fills that trailer up almost completely. It is just packed with stuff at this point. And now we're going to get into how the children feel about this, because we haven't heard from them yet. And the children came. If Mary takes that doll, that dirty rag doll, I got to take my Indian bow. I got to. And this round stick, big as me, I might need this stick. I had the stick so long, a month or maybe a year. I got to take it. And what's it like in California? So the children, you're going to see some different priorities here. The men in this paragraph up here, this longer paragraph, they have a lot of these very practical items that they want to bring that they think are necessary for them to survive. The children, they have different types of items that are important to them. So we have a rag doll. That's something that is very important to one of the children. And an Indian bow. So technically, these aren't things that an adult would look at and think they're necessary to survive, but for children, they're really important. So that's a difference between perspectives here with the men and the children. This next paragraph, we're going to look at what is important to the women in the story. The women sat among the doomed things, turning them over and looking past them back. This book, my father had it. He liked a book, Pilgrim's Progress, used to read it. Got his name in it, and his pipe still smells rank. And this picture, an angel. I looked at that before the fuss three come. Didn't seem to do much good. Think we could get this China dog in? Aunt Sadie brought it from the St. Louis Fair. See? Wrote right on it. No, I guess not. Here's a letter my brother wrote the day before he died. Here's an old-time hat. These feathers, never got to use them. No, there isn't room. So you'll remember from this big paragraph, a couple paragraphs back, that the trailer is completely full at this point. But the women are looking at some of these other items that maybe aren't survival items, but they're still important to them for different reasons. So we have a book, for instance, maybe not a survival item, but still has a lot of sentimental meaning to them. And a picture. So maybe these are things that are important for a different reason. They have a lot of memories held with them, which is something that we've seen throughout this whole excerpt, this idea of stuff having memories attached to it. And those are the things that the women in this paragraph are really focused on, and they wish that they could bring these things too. How can we live without our lives? How will we know it's us without our past? No, leave it, burn it. So this is a short paragraph, but very important idea here. They're saying that how can we live without our lives? They're saying that they are, through leaving their stuff behind in the Dust Bowl, they're leaving their lives behind, basically. And then they say, how will we know it's us without our past? So that's kind of suggesting that their stuff is their past. If they don't have all of these items, then they don't have all these memories of what their lives and what their past has been like. So they're not really sure how they can be themselves and how they can remember who they are without all of these things that are mentioned in the paragraph up here. But even though they're saying that, they still say burn it at the end. So that kind of tells you they're at this point where even though they know that they're not going to be themselves anymore if they move away, they have no other choice. They have to leave all this stuff behind, even though it's really hard for them and they don't want to. They sat and looked at it and burned it into their memories. How will it be not to know what lands outside the door? How, if you wake up in the night and know the willow tree's not out there? Can you live without the willow tree? Well, no, you can't. The willow tree is you. The pain on that mattress there, that dreadful pain, that's you. Another important idea here. Basically, they're saying that the land is a part of who they are. So when they're leaving that behind, they're leaving a part of themselves behind. And all they really have left is this pain that they're mentioning. At this point, they've just become this pain, and the other parts of themselves that they're leaving behind, they don't have anymore when they leave. And the children, if Sam takes his Indian bow and his long round stick, I get to take two things. I choose the fluffy pillow. That's mine. So the children still don't get this idea. They're just focused on what they can bring with them. Suddenly, they were nervous. Got to get out quick now. Can't wait. We can't wait. And they piled up the goods in the yards and set fire to them. They stood and watched them burning, and then frantically they loaded up the cars and drove away, drove in the dust. The dust hung in the air for a long time after the loaded cars had passed. So your ending here of this excerpt, even though they've been talking this whole time about how it's so hard to leave these things behind, suddenly they realize we have to go. We can't wait anymore. We'll highlight that. We can't wait. Because I think they realize that if they wait any longer, they're not going to be able to get themselves to leave. So they just have to make it a quick break. They throw all of these things in the fire, burn them up, even though they're very important to them, and they leave as fast as they can to start a new life. And that is the end of this excerpt. I'm going to note here, and it tells you at the bottom here as well, this is from a full-length book called The Grapes of Wrath. It's by John Steinbeck, who's a really famous, important American author. This is just a chapter from this book. So this story does develop a lot more. You do end up following this family out to California, but this is telling you what it was like for them to leave their home and start over again. If you have any questions about this at all, feel free to email me, talk to me over Zoom. But hopefully this gave you an idea of what some of the most important ideas are from this text.